Welcome to Weird PVD, the podcast. Every week, your host, Sherry Kasperzak, takes you to the odd corners of beautiful Providence, Rhode Island. From big blue bugs to unique art, from weird history to weird food, you'll never look at Rhode Island's creative capital the same again. Tune in every Weird Wednesday. So, riddle me this, weirdos. What do Sharknado and the Olneyville neighborhood of Providence have in common? Well, they've both got flying fish. Today on Weird PVD, the podcast, we're deep diving into a strange bit of Providence lore, the day it rained fish. Back on May 15th, 1900, it rained fish. Now, that's not a euphemism. It's not like raining cats and dogs. It literally rained fish, mostly pout and perch. So, just to give you the setting, back in 1900, Olneyville was a diverse community of working class immigrants, most of whom worked in the textile mills and factories in that neighborhood. And if you live in Providence and you're familiar with Olneyville, not all that much has changed apart from the factories. It's still a diverse working class neighborhood, only now it's got a New York System wiener location. As an aside, go check out the podcast I did on New York System Wieners, a truly Rhode Island institution. Anyway, on May 15th, 1900, Providence experienced a heat wave. Highs hit 93 degrees Fahrenheit, only to drop to 73 degrees by 4 p.m. Lightning flashed across the sky, and a storm whipped up around Olneyville section of Providence. That's when the fish started flopping from the sky. Now, how exactly did this happen? Well, my weird friends, you're in luck. I had the absolute privilege of chatting with ABC6's chief meteorologist, Kristina Shaloup, who graciously brought the whole thing together for us. Here's our conversation to shed a little light on these precipitous perch. Hi there, I am here with Kristina Shaloup. She is the chief meteorologist with ABC6, and she is going to break down some of the background of this one time in May of 1900, right here in Olneyville in Providence, where it rained fish. So, Kristina, help us out here. How does this kind of thing happen? How does it rain fish?
Okay, well, first of all, let me just say, I love to say there is no such thing as a coincidence in the world of weather. And this is actually one of those things where, as weird as it might sound, I truly don't think that this is a coincidence when it comes down to it. So, shall we get into the nitty-gritty, the science of it all, if you will?
Let's do it.
Okay, so in my humble opinion, I looked back at some of the records of what this day was actually like in May, what the weather conditions were like. And to me, this looks like it could have been a situation of either a tornado or a waterspout. So what I learned about that day all the way back in 1900 was that it was really warm. And then all of a sudden these storms came through. There were reports of hail and thunder and lightning. That's a scenario in which something like a tornado or a waterspout forming, not really out of the question. I mean, we've seen that in the past year or two here in southern New England. So, those kinds of conditions can have something like that form. And if it forms in just the right place, especially we're talking fish, a waterspout in particular, these are really powerful phenomena. They can pick up wildlife and move them. So my best estimation of this is that there was probably a waterspout or a tornado over, let's say, a fish hatchery or something like that, if we're talking about something on land. And it literally just picked up all of these fish and plopped them in Olneyville. And that's one of those things too, by the way. These systems, these phenomena, weather and waterspouts, they're really strong. So if they do pick something up, whether it's a twig or a fish, it can be miles away from its original starting point. So that's where I say, it wouldn't be a surprise if there were no reports of tornadic activity, but even if a tornado or a waterspout happened 10, 15, 20 miles away, it's not out of the question that you can see this wildlife moving so far.
Wow, so this isn't as rare as we might think. Like, I don't think any of us walk outside expecting to get hit with a fish. This doesn't, I mean, I'm assuming this happens fairly frequently.
I don't want to say frequently, but it's not like it's never happened before. I think, okay, another example I can give you, different scenario, different phenomenon, but something that kind of does happen with more frequency. We talk about these big, strong weather phenomena. One that comes to mind, hurricanes, for example. I actually did a school talk a while ago. I might have scarred a poor kid with this. He was asking about Sharknadoes. And I actually informed this kid, he was like 8 years old. I was speaking to a class of second or third graders. And, hurricanes are actually known to pick up and move wildlife as well. So there are often times where a hurricane will move through an area and residents of the area will find sharks, snakes, fish, other wildlife that has just been kind of plopped into their neighborhood from these huge and far-ranging storms. So it's not that it happens all the time, but weather has a way of making things work, and this is one of those things that I wouldn't be totally shocked if I saw a report like that again in my life.
That's amazing. Also, that is some great background, and hopefully no Sharknadoes anytime in the near future. Fingers crossed. But thank you so much, Kristina. This has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for breaking it down for us.
Of course, happy to be here and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. As Christina mentioned, even though raining fish isn't impossible and it's not exactly common, it does happen from time to time. Back in 1861, it rained fish in Singapore, and as recently as 2021, fish rained down on Texarkana, Texas. It's reportedly a rather common phenomenon in Yoro, Honduras, where it rains fish once a year, usually in May or June, during what they call lluvia de peste. So that is the tale of the day it rained fish. If you're not already following me on Instagram, head on over and follow weird_PVD. You can also follow me on TikTok, where I deliver a new morbid historical fact every single day at weird.pvd. You can find Weird PVD, the podcast, at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. So please give me a follow or hit the subscribe button if you'd be so kind. It really helps me out a lot, and I'm always grateful for your support. And don't forget to keep PVD weird.